So thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Stephanie Lau. I am from VCU Rehabilitation Research and Training Center, Center on Transition Innovations. That's a very long title. If you see any emails from me and they are VCU, RRTC, CTI, that is what that alphabet soup stands for. I'm going to let my co-presenters, Carolyn and Teresa, give a quick introduction of themselves as well, and then we'll talk more today about really what this course is. And I will be explaining the course, the research study, and then Teresa and Carolyn will be going into a little bit more depth about the first module. Okay, so I am the program co-coordinator for a NIDLR study, and this is a study that we have looking at the knowledge translation of Pre-ETS for students with significant disabilities. So this is phase 3 of a research study that you are now participating in by taking this course. And what we are interested in seeing is if we are presenting information about Pre-ETS and giving resources, what are the best means in which people can access that information, use that information, and what are some of the outcomes when it comes to how they use that information. So again, you are enrolled in the facilitated Pre-ETS Toolkit for students with significant disabilities. It is a course focused on how to provide job exploration, workplace readiness skills, and introduce the idea of how to schedule a community-based work experience for students with significant disabilities age 14 to 16. So if you're more familiar with Pre-ETS, you may know that it's usually not a work experience, it's a work experience is a Pre-ETS, and we kind of have it modified as a single community-based experience because we know that 14 to 16-year-olds, they may not be eligible to work yet. So it's more of a, how can we take these Pre-ETS and adjust it or accommodate it more for the students that we're really focusing on, which are the younger students, 14 to 16, and those with significant disabilities. So again, the reason that we are doing this study is exactly what I just shared with you. We want to see how we can increase facilitation of pre-employment transition services, which is what Pre-ETS stands for those younger students, 14 to 16, with significant disabilities, as they are often two populations that are not getting these Pre-ETS services as much as we feel they should. And it would be extremely helpful for them as they transition into additional Pre-ETS services, VR services, and eventually their post-secondary life and experience. One thing I want to stress before I kind of let Teresa and Carolyn take it over as far as looking at the course, there is one thing that we are going to be asking you to do as part of this study, which is to share some information about the Pre-ETS that you may or may not have facilitated with students that week. And it's okay if you haven't. That's actually the point of the study, is to see, as you get more information about Pre-ETS and how to do Pre-ETS, if you are able to increase your facilitation of Pre-ETS for students. And how we're going to ask you to do that is when you are in the course, within the modules for every single week, and I'll show you, let me actually do that now. So if you go over to the modules in the course, you will see kind of for each one an overview. What I will suggest is that you start at the beginning and just spend some time when you're in the Canvas course to get used to it, figure out how to navigate it. We do have some frequently asked questions about how to navigate as well. And I think that would be a good place to start. We also have everything along the toolbar on the left side, so you can navigate there if needed. But one thing we are asking to do every week is to complete the weekly tracking form here. And there will be a link to that weekly tracking form, which will take you to this Google form right here. This is something we're asking you to do every single week. Again, just to let us know if you are facilitating Pre-ETS for students 14 to 16. If you are not, that is okay. Please be honest in your answer, because we just want to see if there is any change as you are doing this course. So email here. Did you deliver or authorize pre-ETS to any student with a disability age 14 to 16 this week? Yes or no? How many students received pre-ETS? Was pre-ETS delivered individually or as a group? Which pre-ETS was delivered or authorized? Select all that apply. And were any students recipients of previous pre-ETS activities, collaboration, and who you may have collaborated with while you were facilitating pre-ETS. So this is the one part of the study that we are asking that you complete weekly. Everything else, as far as the toolkit goes, we will be releasing modules at a time. Some modules will be quickly. So if you were to go into the course right now, you have 1 week to complete module 1, which is what we're going to review today. And then the following week, module 2 will drop. This is a larger module, so you actually have 3 weeks to complete this one. And we do suggest that you do a lesson per week is how we've set it up for you. But now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Teresa so she can talk a little bit more about the toolkit. And as she's talking, you may see me adjusting my screen so that I can kind of follow along with her.
So hello, everyone. I'm Teresa Beluccio, and I work at the University of Kentucky at the Human Development Institute. And we have partnered with Stephanie, Carolyn, and others at VCU on this research project. And as Stephanie said, this has been a 5-year project. And now we're in phase 3, where we are delivering these products and resources to you all as participants. So I will be the facilitator for the folks in Kentucky. So what I'd like to do now is just give you information about Module 1. So welcome to the Toolkit in Technology Assessment. Module 1 begins today, March 18th, and will end this Saturday, March the 24th. The introduction will focus on why a pre-ETS toolkit for students age 14 to 16 with significant disabilities has been developed and how to use this toolkit. Module 1 will also introduce the technology assessment. So let me give you a description of what you'll find in the toolkit, the components. Each component begins with a description of the lesson materials provided. Number 1, the lesson plan. Detailed lesson plans are provided for each pre-ETS lesson. Lesson plans are written to be delivered in person or virtually. The second component is lesson slides. Now, these are lesson slides that are provided for each pre-ETS lesson. The slides are meant to be used during lesson instruction. So if you are teaching this lesson to students, you would use these slides. The third component is the lesson workbook pages for students. Each pre-ETS lesson has accompanying workbook pages that the students will use. These workbook pages are designed to be used during the instruction and extension activities. The next component is the lesson pre and post quiz for students. So as you're beginning each lesson, a student would take a very short quiz. I think it's like 5 questions. And at the end of the lesson, a student would take the post quiz, which is the same 5 questions. Now, these quizzes are meant to measure student understanding and learning. The last component is the lesson report templates that we use to provide to stakeholders. So there are 3 report templates provided that you'll see. These are used to give comprehensive feedback on students' activities in the first 3 lessons, which are job exploration, and then the next lessons on workplace readiness. And then finally, there is a template for the community-based work experience. So again, these are reports that you could use as a resource to fill these out on how well the student did during these components, and you could share these with all the stakeholders. So the stakeholders might include the student the families, educators, and the student's VR counselor. So familiarize yourself with the lessons and the lesson guide, the slides, the workbook activities, and the pre and post questions. The live Zoom sessions, like the one we're having today, will provide tips and suggestions on how to facilitate or modify the lesson materials provided. We suggest you review the lesson slides and workbook at the same time you review the lesson guide. This will provide you with a fuller picture of how the entire lesson will progress. You can download copies of each of the lesson components and save those to a place where you will easily access them. We suggest that you create a file folder for each lesson. That will help you organize the materials that you download for each lesson. You can save and use those later. Though this, yes, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Teresa. And I apologize. I just wanted to cut in because I was trying to find it. And so just what Teresa is talking about is when you see 2 for lesson materials, this is where you'll see the hyperlink for all of the items that you will need for these lessons. So I just wanted to apologize if I was distracting while I was searching for this on the canvas. Hey, thanks, Teresa.
It's good to see where all these components are located. So one more thing, throughout the toolkit, it can be used as a curriculum. It is designed also to serve as a resource or to supplement any pre-existing Pre-ETS instruction. So the lessons, the slides, the workbook, and the extension activities can be used together as we've described them and put them together here, or they can be used in isolation. So you could pull these resources, download them, and save them, and you could use the ones that you're most interested in using. Or you can use these as a supplement to any activities that you're currently providing with Pre-ETS services.
Carolyn, would you like to introduce yourself and
Sure.
talk a little bit
Okay.
about the
This technology assessment. I'm Carolyn Cage. I'm a transition training associate with VCU Research Rehabilitation and Training Center, Center on Transition Innovations, also long word in alphabet soup. But I will be the facilitator for participants in Virginia. And so I'm going to go over the technology assessment, which is also part of Module 1. The technology assessment gives you as the Pre-ETS facilitator the opportunity to assess students' current technology skills and knowledge. As you will see, many of the activities in the student workbook require basic computer skills, so it's going to be helpful to assess students' proficiency of these skills to determine if there is any need for accommodations or lesson modifications. Also, prior knowledge of the student's ability to perform technology skills can help you determine if you as an instructor are able to complete these Pre-ETS lessons within the allotted time, or if modification is going to be needed to complete the activities. When we piloted this, we found that students' ability to perform the technology skills sometimes took a little more time, and so lessons did not necessarily last the 60 minutes that they were allowed, or that we needed more time. So that will help with making sure that you're able to adhere or with the timing of the lessons as well. And then finally, the information on students' technology skills will also be useful when considering career exploration and planning. For example, students have technology skills. Do they have the skills needed for their ideal job? And if not, are they able to acquire these skills and determine what pathways they'll need to acquire the necessary technology skills? So as a toolkit, the materials provided can be used in whatever order is needed to fit the needs of the student and you as a facilitator. However, we encourage that the technology assessment be administered early and prior to the start of the Pre-ETS job exploration lessons. So students should complete the assessment under the supervision of their teacher or the pre-ETS facilitator or instructor. So we have several components to this technology assessment. You have the technology assessment slides. There is a technology assessment form. And you will see that when you go to the slides, it is asking you to make a copy. And we ask you to make a copy because we do not want everyone to have to, alter the original. So you make a copy, download, and you can work with it as needed. There is a technology assessment form that's a PDF where you will fill in some information on the student's performance that's part of the assessment. We give you some instructions. The form kind of outlines the tasks that the student has to do and whether or not they were able to perform the tasks that were required.
You could also do this with a student too. So the student could kind of self-select too.
Exactly. Thanks, Stephanie. And then we also have instructions on how to use this assessment or how to use this assessment as part of the toolkit, but also how to use the assessment for instruction, some tips for instruction. And then we included some email templates because as facilitators, you're going to need to send each student their individual copy of the slides, of the technology assessment slides. So we kind of give you some like a template that you can follow when you are emailing students directly, individually, or as a group. And so participants are strongly encouraged to review the assessment instructions as well as the tips for assessment and instructional use prior to administering the Pre-ETS technology assessment. And it's also helpful to review the slides prior to working with students so that you can become familiar with the tasks that they will need to perform and establish a standard for proficiency.
And I just want to stress too that we, as Teresa mentioned, this is a 5-year-long project. So we started this and piloted our first lessons in 2020. So that is, if you do look at pre-ETS technology, like assessments is not really a pre-ETS unto itself, but we realized that we needed to create a technology assessment partly because of the situation we're in which we were facilitating pre-ETS often online or wholly or virtual or often in a hybrid situation as well. So please keep that in mind that this toolkit is also created so that you can do it online if you like, or you could do it in person or a combination of the two. So the email templates is wonderful for one way. If you're facilitating a whole bunch of students at one time in a group, you could email them all their own link at various times. You can also email, if you're doing a one-on-one, email it in the moment right there in front of the student, but then also make sure the student's able to check their own email and access it. So it gives you a variety of ways in which you can work with either a group or an individual. And also if you are in a situation where you're providing pre-ETS virtually, we do try to create as much of this toolkit to be friendly for online instruction.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to add something here as well. So with the technology assessment, it did become really important because as we were attempting to administer this with students face-to-face, students were using their Chromebook typically, and they got out their Chromebooks, and completing the assessment was a really good way to know that they were able to access the email, open it, and complete that very short assessment. And it also helped because, as I had mentioned earlier, one of the components is the student workbook. So you would send the student the workbook, and they would be able to access that as well and open it.
And with that all in mind, one of the things that we learned as we were piloting this is that it is always important, and depending on where your location is, to do a technology check prior to the start of every session to make sure that your internet access is strong enough or that students are not having any hardware issues or anything like that. that they are able to participate if you're delivering this online or using technology for the lessons, because as we mentioned, most of the a lot of the toolkit can be done through technology, or as Teresa said, students using their Chromebooks or whatever their personal device may be.
And I just want to kind of clarify, and that was part of where I was searching before. A lot of the information Teresa was sharing earlier about the course layout, you can find in the course information. So please make sure you read through the course information. It is also where we have the frequently asked questions, an overview of the discussion, quizzes, and grades that will be part of this course. Lucian, who his contact information, if you have ever any technology issues, he is the person that you want to reach out to. So please read through the course information, as we have more information here about what we expect throughout the course from you, and also how it's laid out. And then I wanted to take this opportunity to really quickly kind of go through some of the specifics for the module, and you'll start to see the modules and the lessons have a very repetitive pattern. So for the most part, what you do one week will be the exact same the next week. But I wanted to take you through that now to make sure that you understood what each component is.
Can I ask
So
a question? Can I ask a
yes,
question before you start that? So,
please.
So this course, you want us to use this course now with students?
If you can, yes. If you cannot, because you are not currently working with students, we understand that may be the situation for some individuals. So this is really kind of more just like a resource for you to use now if you can, or in the future if that is the situation that you're in, where you may not have students right now, but you may have students next year, over the summer, etc.
Okay, because I work with like the question, the weekly question where it says, did you work with kids for pre-ETS? I do work with kids for pre-ETS a lot. I mean, all the time. A lot of it is work-based learning. So we're actually doing things, going and doing things. So I mean, like right off the bat, I think like this is great to start with at the beginning of the year, or for days when we're in the building, but we're not really in the building. So I'll be interested to print it out and see like what we could use downtime, bus time for, or different things like that for different discussions.
Yeah.
But if we're not doing something for this, do you still want us to report that, yes, we did work with pre-ETS kids?
Yep. Because we actually have that as one of the questions. We recognize that we are focusing on job exploration, workplace readiness, but for you, it may be the work-based learning experiences.
Okay.
Because that is exactly, this is actually a great question, and thank you for asking it, because we wrote it as a curriculum, recognizing that some people may not have a curriculum, and this may be where they need to start. But then for you, where it sounds like you do have pre-existing programs or curricula, we're offering this as saying this is a resource for you to pick and choose things as you see that would be a good fit to supplement what you're currently doing.
Okay, great. Because I'm thinking like, it's like, I don't per se have a classroom. I say I interrupt classes all the time and take kids out. That's all I do, is interrupt people all day long and take kids. And we might be working in the building, we might be working somewhere else, but it's not like I have a class where it would be like, we're going to start on this and work our way through it for the next month or whatever.
Yeah, that's you're not a classroom disruptor. You are providing experiences and opportunities.
Yes. Okay, super. How often are the Zoom meetings going to be?
They're going to be at the beginning of every single module. So it won't be every single week. So there will be another one for next week, because that's when module 2 is released. But then the next one after that will be 3 weeks later, because module 2 is 3 weeks long. And then module 3 module 3 is quite large. It's actually 6 lessons. So we'll have 1 session at the beginning of it.
Okay. All right. Fabulous. I love this. I do have to go meet students today, so that's why I wanted to ask. But you're videotaping this, and will it be accessible on the Canvas then?
Yes. Yep. Or we will share it via announcements, the link to the recorded video.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
So just to make sure, one other piece that I want to make sure is we will have an assignment for you that actually will build throughout the entire course. And this is the action plan. So the action plan is one document that you will start this week by identifying a SMART goal for you to increase your pre-ETS facilitation. And then at every module, we will ask you to build on it to provide more detail about objectives, strategies, and hopefully at the end of the course, you have a full-fledged action plan for yourself. It is something that we want to guide you through, but it's really, so we want to make sure that you make it reasonable and realistic for you and what your goals are to actually be able to apply it. So that is the first part of the action plan will be due at the end of this week. But again, that will build over the course of this course. And then the discussion board is something else that we will ask you to do at the end of every single lesson. So you do have a discussion board due this week, which is to respond to these two questions and then reply back to two of your classmates. So first one being introduce yourselves and tell us which of the 5 pre-ETS activities you find to be the most challenging to implement and why. And then another one as what additional information would you like to have on students' technology skills or other skills needed to participate in pre-ETS. And then at the end of this lesson, you will also have a quiz for yourself that you need to receive 80% or better to pass. This is a quiz to make sure that you've actually reviewed the content, understand how to use the material. And so please also remember that if you're taking this course for CRCs, you do have to score 80% or above in order to get your CRC credit. Okay. And then the weekly tracking form I already reviewed at the beginning, but I'm going to say it again because it's very important. Please make sure you fill out this weekly tracking form just to let us know what pre-ETS you have done over the course of this week. Again, we understand if you have not been able to do any pre-ETS, we're just simply collecting this information. Okay. Now I'm going to open it up and see if you guys have any additional questions. And please know, I think you guys are automatically muted. So if you are talking and I cannot see, I also cannot hear you at the moment.
I have a question.
Yes, Loretta.
So I didn't get to hear the first part of it because I couldn't get my microphone to come on.
Oh no.
But is this just for pre-ETS or is it for 9th through 12th grade?
It is for pre-ETS. This is a toolkit focused on pre-ETS. We're focusing on 14 to 16-year-olds with significant disabilities. And just in case, since you didn't hear the beginning portion, we know that a lot of you are working in different environments with different groups of students. Some of you have access to pre-ETS materials already. Some of you don't. Really, this toolkit has been designed as a complete curricula for job exploration, workplace readiness skills, and then an introduction to work-based learning. But if you do have something that you are already doing, like it sounds like Anne has a curriculum, we still suggest that you look through this because it could be resources that can be used to supplement or expand on your current practices.
Yeah, this is my 5th year and I've had to steal from anywhere I can on the internet. And Virginia, I'm telling you, I have worksheets that have Virginia, University on there, and I have to white it out, because I don't want somebody saying, well, why are you stealing stuff for? Well, because I can't find anything. So I haven't looked at this, but like I said, I've robbed Peter to pay Paul, I guess you could say. So 5 years I've been working. I have stuff for 9th graders, things for 10th graders, 11th graders, and 12th graders.
Well, Loretta,
because to me, yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, welcome to the toolkit. This is all for you to take.
Good.
We do have our because it is funded by a federal grant. So actually, please, if you don't mind, leave our the little VCU Kentucky on there, but it is yours. You can take it. And if you modify it, same thing, just, modify it and then say this was taken from this material. Yep. So, yeah. And that's actually, just to let you know, the plan is at the end of the study is to release all of this for public use. So consider that also as part of the study, we will be asking at the end an evaluation of what was useful for you, what you liked about the course. So that will help us improve it when we do package it for its final release to the public. So,
Okay, thank you.
and I'm sorry, Laura, I know I cut you off. So did you have something else to say?
Oh, no, I was just going through how it actually has taken me 5 years to get my big binders ready and everything. So when I saw this, I was like super excited. It's like, is there new stuff? Maybe I've already got some of this stuff, but I can add on to it. I'm just like a kid at Christmas time right now.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. And, and this is also another place where you can really use, and I advise that you use the discussion board as the place to discuss what you are doing, what your challenges are. We'll see what your classmates are also writing in response to the discussion questions. Talk to them, ask questions, get ideas, find out what different resources are. We really have designed this facilitated version of the toolkit to kind of provide that opportunity to talk to us as facilitators and also your classmates to learn from one another.
Stephanie, I have a question.
Yes, Vicki.
So I missed the beginning too. I'm getting ready to have surgery in the morning, so I was in the doctor's office. So my question to you is this: at the beginning, did you all talk about, like, if I bring my students in and they have a Chromebook, is this going to be something I can add to a Google Classroom so I can see their work and so on and so forth? I guess I missed all that part.
No, yeah. So what we did is we either link it to a PDF that you can download as your own version, or actually we did everything with Google Documents. So we're very familiar with Google. When you click, and let me see if I can show you this really fast. So if you click like on the technology assessment slides, it actually takes you to a page that tells you to copy the document. So once you copy it, it is your document. And then we do suggest that you save it and organize it in whatever situation makes sense for you. So if you already have Google Classrooms with different folders for your students, I would definitely suggest that you download that, copy, keep one as a master copy for yourself, and then copy an individual one for every student and put it into their file folder.
Great, thank you.
It's a good question.
And Vicki, you and Loretta probably missed this at the beginning when we were introducing ourselves. So I'm Teresa from the University of Kentucky, the Human Development Institute. And so I'll be facilitating the folks in Kentucky. So feel free to ask me, questions, and I'll be glad to answer these the best I can. In the phase previous to phase 3, we taught these lessons in the classroom. So we utilized the resources. We actually did this with students. Carolyn did it as well. So I think we're pretty good about telling you what happened in the classroom and trying to answer any questions you have about implementation.
Yeah. And that's actually a great opportunity, Teresa. I kind of glossed over this very quickly at the beginning, but this is a multi-phased research study that we're doing. The first phase, we collected information from stakeholders, including students, VR counselors, teachers, students and their families, about what were some of the challenges they faced when it came to Pre-ETS. We took that information and turned it into curriculum that we piloted in Kentucky and Virginia. Teresa was an instructor in Kentucky. Carolyn and myself instructed some classes in Virginia. Carolyn more so than me, more recently too. So Carolyn, we're going to lean on you. But again, that expertise and experience of actually having facilitated it both virtually, in person, and a combination thereof. And then we are now in phase 3, which is the phase that you are participating in. You have been randomized into the facilitated toolkit course, which means that you have access to all of the toolkit, but you also have a little bit more opportunity to talk to facilitators like myself, Teresa, Carolyn, and to have the discussion board to really kind of learn from your peers as well. And so for phase 3, we are looking at the knowledge translation methodologies, what works best to really make sure that this material gets out and is not just simply delivered, but also used effectively. Do you guys have any additional questions for me? Okay. Right. Well, I think I am probably going to end the recording. But before I do officially end the recording, for you and for anybody who may be watching the recorded version of this, please remember that you're able to contact any of your facilitators via email if you have additional questions. The next Zoom session will be introducing the next module, which is module 2, job exploration. And that will be on March 25th, also at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And then after that, we will have another one, I believe on March 5th or April 15th, tax day, also at 1 o'clock. But as is the case with this one, if you are not able to attend, we will be recording it so that you can go back and look at it. And all your first assignments are due this Sunday. Please let us know if you have any questions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.